one. Welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. It's another NWA spotlight. I can't remember how many we've done of these now, quite a lot. For those of you that are wondering where Fiona is, she's on her way into this interview. Don't worry, she will be here for this one. She's just finished up with Mark Mero over in the UK, who was doing a tour with Inside the Ropes. But nevertheless, our guest today is a very fast rising star in the NWA. He's actually not long took on Tom Latimer for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. He was also the New South champion and competed in a very, I would say, an old school match that I want to talk about. It's none other than Mr. Tyler Franks. Welcome to the show, Tyler.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm very excited to be on here.
We're very happy to be having you, Tyler. Thank you for coming on. Tyler, NWA, so full disclosure on this. I started watching NWA a couple of years ago. So Fiona, my podcast host, or my podcast co-host, has been watching it since, way back. But I've noticed in the last few years, and maybe you can agree or disagree with this, some really big positive changes made by the NWA. Like, Billy has come in, he's changed made little tweaks to it, but those little tweaks have been a massive bonus for the NWA.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I remember when Billy acquired the NWA and they started running Power, and that was a very big transition for them, and it was something that was very different. And they were very at the unlucky end of the stick of having a lot of their top talent get plucked from them early on, but I think they did a tremendous job of adapting, and they do a very good job of providing a different product from what you see other places. And when you watch NWA Power, there's a little bit of something for everybody. And it's definitely something, obviously, I work there, but I really recommend to anyone. Before I worked for NWA, I was a fan of the product and the show. So, yeah, I think what they've done, man, has been very well. In terms of production and professionalism, they're on par with any place I've ever been, any place that I've watched, and hopefully it gets the spotlight that it truly deserves.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, NWA has obviously been around for many, many years. I mean, it's just going to be 76, I believe. Is it 76? I
Yep.
think 76. So 76 is coming up very, very soon. Obviously, the Crockett Cup as well, another legendary tournament that the NWA is doing. It's coming up very, very soon, actually. But what's your experience like, Tyler, been in the NWA? You've had quite a few matches in there now. How have you adapted to the NWA?
Um, I've loved my time there so far. The NWA is the first major promotion to take a shot on me, and for that, I'm always going to be grateful. It was a bit of a learning curve. working. I've This past month in March, I hit 6 years as a professional wrestler since my first match. So, and all that time has really been spent traveling the Indies, particularly in the South of the United States, but going as far as I can. And it was something that I definitely had to adapt to, because when you go to a place like the NWA, obviously the talent rises, and you want to try to elevate yourself to be on that level with those guys. And very early into my run with the NWA, I got to work with Tom Latimer, and that was something that I going into the match. It's like, man, this is a guy that I've watched for years. Like growing up, I was a really big fan of TNA, so I remember him as Bram from TNA, and stuff like that. And obviously, man, he's when you think of a guy that is a world champion, he fits the bill in every aspect. He's got the look, the charisma, the in-ring prowess. So that was something that very quickly I learned, man, like I feel confident in my abilities to keep up with these guys, but now I got to start working to get to that next level of now I'll show that I can compete with these guys. Now I have to work to show that I can beat these guys. So that was a very cool opportunity. And, so far I've tried to take every opportunity they've given me and, try to knock it out the park the best that I can.
Well, you certainly have done that. I mean, again, the match against Latimer was very, very good. I want to talk about that in just a brief second. But You mentioned Latimer there, and the whole plethora of experiences in the NWA. You've got Aaron, you've got EC3. There's people backstage like Jazz and people like that. You know, Homicide I know has helped out a little bit
Oh
as
yeah.
well, and Vampiro has been there. Did you look at tapping into those people when you were there? I know they done the Back to the Territories thing last year as well.
Mhm.
Did you tap into those people and get some advice from the people in the game? Because ultimately, they're the ones that are going to help shape your future there, right?
Absolutely, man. Like that's another thing about the NWA is that they are filled with people in the back and in the ring that have great knowledge and have been around the game for so long. And um, I try to every chance that I get try to learn a little piece here, a little piece there, and apply it. And for me personally, Homicide is someone that I've always really got to. I've he's you know had a few of my matches when I've been there, and every time that you know I need help with something or trying to think of certain ideas, he's always gave me tremendous advice. So him for sure, and then just kind of being a fly on the wall in some of the conversations that like you never realize the little things that like if you're having a conversation with somebody that you could pick up on. And yeah, those all those guys in the back, man, just filled with talent. And even guys like Pat Kinney and Simon Diamond, he's
Yep.
been tremendous as well. So yeah, it's just endless amount of knowledge back there that I hope I can squeeze as much out of it as I can.
Definitely be the sponge, I think, as we call it over here.
Yep.
Let's talk about Latimer. So you had, I mean, look, you turn up to these tapings, obviously you go through, and then they say to you, you're having a shot at the £10 of gold. Does your whole mindset at that point, obviously that you want to go, that you want to perform well, but when they
Right.
tell you you're going after that prestigious championship on an episode of Power, does that mindset change?
Oh, absolutely, man. Because like you said, it's one thing to step in the ring with the guy on that level, and obviously the champion. But then when those stakes are elevated, it's a lot of pressure to perform, and it's a lot of it just runs through your mind all of the tremendous wrestlers over the years that have held that title, and like some of the best in to ever lace up boots have held that championship. And regardless of how you look at the various promotions across the world and the different championships, the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship is the cream of the crop. It's still like if you hold the 10 pounds of gold, people are going to know who you are. People are going to respect that. So, yeah, that was huge for me. And um, so I work for a territory system of the NWA as well
Yep.
in the Tennessee area, NWA Crossfire, and they had their big biggest show of the year, Black Harvest, in
Yes.
October. And I actually got to work Tom Latimer for the 10 pounds of gold at that show,
Mm.
and that happened to be 2 days before I wrestled him at Power, the tapings at
Yeah.
least. It aired later, but that's when we
Yes.
had the tapings. So um, that weekend, man, really, really, I feel changed the trajectory of my career. I felt like 2024, I was making great strides, and was by far 2024 has been the most successful year for me so far. But that weekend, man, I got to wrestle him in Sevierville, Tennessee, NWA Crossfire, and that match, man, like it definitely helped going into the match 2 days later after having that experience with Tom there. But getting to wrestle him there in kind of my area, kind of my territory, and then going down to Power and wrestling him that weekend, man, that was I would say when I left to come home that from that weekend, man, it just my whole career, I felt different. I felt elevated, although I had two losing efforts against Tom. There's no shame in losing to the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, So, and talk about a professional, man. Tom is somebody that I felt like I personally learned a lot from that weekend. he's someone I have so much respect for, and he's a guy that deserves anything that he can get in this business because he is the man. So I hope that I get at some point another chance to get in the ring with him while he's world's champion. I definitely feel like that weekend in particular, man, it really helped give me the confidence to know that I can do it and to get the reassurance from a guy like him to say, like to basically tell him he believes in me, that was it was, it's invaluable. It's really priceless. Hard to explain, but that weekend was huge.
Yes, it certainly was. And as you can see below me, anyway, she's back from Mark Mero and everything else. Miss Fiona Lochran. Hello, Fee.
Hello, you all right? I'm sorry I'm late. Sorry, you
No,
kind of caught me on the hop this one, so
my apologies. So full disclosure to everyone watching, this was meant to be recorded later, and I messaged Tyler to see if he could do earlier, and he said yes. So that's why Fiona was a bit late. It's my fault, not Fee's. But anyway, Fee, look, we've just been talking to Tyler. Tyler was saying that, he's wrestled Tom Latimer twice. So quite quickly, it was over in Crossfire at the Black Harvest event.
yeah.
And a couple of days later, it was the Power tapings where he wrestled. Obviously, that went out later on. But Fee, for you, what have you noticed about Tyler when we've seen him on Power? Because obviously, there's lots of blue chippers around the NWA at the minute in terms of the territory system.
Yeah.
Tyler and Hunter, and we'll get into the little feud that they've been having elsewhere in a second. But they seem to be like ready made and ready to sort of be on Power fully going forward.
Very much so, and I think maybe becoming with KFW and stuff becoming part of the territory system as well. It's almost like, sorry, there's my cat. He makes a regular appearance. It's almost like you're ready made to be there in my books. I kind of feel like with the territories, you've worked hard there. You've come on board under the NWA umbrella, the banner, so to speak, and they've obviously seen something in you guys that think it's going to be a really, really good fit with the NWA. And what obviously you talked about your match with Tom. You had quite a hard hitting one with Max as well. You did the junior heavyweight scramble. What else am I missing? And then you just recently had one at Hard Times as well, the 6-man tag as well. So they're obviously NWA and Billy and the team, they're obviously seeing that you're a good fit for them. So I'm really excited to see what else lies ahead for you. Because you've gone in at the top. Like it's not like you've come in at the bottom, you've gone right in at the top level. I mean, getting an early match against the world heavyweight champion is pretty something.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for that. Yeah, it's definitely something I didn't take lightly because it definitely shows that they had a lot of trust and believed in me early. So I really hope that I can continue to deliver to that standard for them because that, like I said, they're the first place to give me an opportunity like that, and I'm going to do the most I can to show them they made right in investing in me.
Absolutely. I spoke, obviously, mentioned KFW there. You've got a few friends or potentially foes at KFW who have kind of come along to NWA with you. You've been tagging with Hunter Drake for quite a while now. Do you see that ever being something that NWA would run with, or are you preferring having the one-on-one against them as far as NWA power is concerned?
Um, you know, Me and him, we came into the business together. Actually, we both are from the same hometown. We went to
Mhm.
high school together. We wrestled on the trampoline when we were growing up, and always dreamed of doing this. And when we first broke into the business, we broke in as a tag team and kind of made a name for ourselves like that. Before ultimately kind of going our separate ways, but we've always either been on the same side of the ring together or across the ring, and whichever way you put it, we usually seem to make the most of those moments. So it's definitely something I would definitely not be opposed to doing here in the NWA. We haven't really teamed in quite a while, so it's definitely something that I would be open to, and just depending on if it's in the cards. You know, I think I think there's a lot of potential there for success. I know Crockett Cup's coming up.
Yeah.
That's something that it would be really cool opportunity. probably unlikely right now, but that would be something very cool to do. I mean, Hunter's tremendous talent. He has that same drive like myself. And yeah, definitely, it would definitely be something I would be interested in seeing here again in the future.
Maybe some Crockett Cup action in 2026. Who knows?
Hey, yeah.
We'll have to see. I still think there's a squeak of Crockett Cup this year. We'll have to see. Maybe Tyler's not letting on something. We'll see. But while we're on the subject of Hunter, because now you mentioned about independence. You work at New South, where you was the champion. You kindly mentioned that you'd lost it at the tapings the show this past weekend. I thought you were still champion, so that's my bad. Well, it's actually Cage Match's fault for not updating their website. Yeah, but I wanted to get through because when you did win that match, you had quite a lengthy feud with Hunter in New South, and it culminated in a match that I hadn't seen, and I can't remember the last one. It may have been Triple H and Stone Cold. They may have done one after that. 3 Stages of Hell was the match that you won your title in. So 2 things on that. What were the 3 Stages of Hell? And secondly, mentally and physically, how do you prepare yourself for a 3 Stages of Hell match?
So in our match, the 3 stages was the first match was a first blood match, followed up by a submission match, and then we capped it off with a last man standing. So kind of little backstory.
The easy ones for you.
Yeah, it's definitely definitely not the order you would think, but I'll give you a little bit of a backstory to explain why we went that route. So leading up, I had got injured in October. I dislocated my elbow and I had to relinquish the title. And I was out for a little bit, returned in December, and Hunter had picked the title up while I was gone. So me and him had a match in January, and he defeated. Well, he didn't beat me, but he kind of he DQ'd. He got DQ'd, so he retained the title. And after the match, he had me zip tied to the ropes, and I had no help. Right, and my dad actually came out to get in between us because he's this feud goes way back. Like I said, we grew up wrestling on the trampoline together. My dad coached us in little league sports growing up, and so Hunter took a screwdriver to my dad.
Oh, nice.
Made him bleed, right? So I challenged him to a 3 Stages of Hell, and I told him that I wanted the first match to be a first blood match because I wanted to make him bleed. Then I wanted to make him tap out, and then I wanted to leave him incapacitated for a 10 count. So that's kind of how we led into the 3 stages, and a little full circle moment. Our first feud we had at New South, it would have been 3 years prior, it'd been 2022. We had our blow off match in a last man standing match. So it was kind of that third stage was kind of like that full circle moment. So yeah, to kind of go into that, man, it's definitely much different than how you would prepare for an ordinary match, obviously, and knowing what he is capable of and knowing the lengths that he had went to, I knew that I had to bring a lot more out of me in that match, a side of me that I haven't brought out in quite some time. And yeah, it was a grueling match, man. It was definitely a hard fought victory. One of the most it's one of the performances I've been most proud of in my career. Like I said, we go way back, me and him, and when we had faced one-on-one in New South in the past, prior to that 3 Stages of Hell, I'd have actually never beaten him one-on-one in New South. So he had that kind of, I had that chip on my shoulder, and I had that kind of, that little bit of that doubt in your mind thinking, oh man, can I do this? Can I do this? And, like I said, we always bring the best out at each other. And I really think that night we were both on our A+ game. And I think my A+ game just happened to slightly edge his that night. So I was able to come out victorious and win back my New South. Well,
did your dad not want to get in on the action?
Oh no, he did. He He slid me a pair of brass knuckles during the match at one point, and he came in and popped the right hand on Hunter. So,
Looking after
and
his boy. I like
oh yeah, and
it.
for those of you listening to this that want to go check that out, you can find it on IWTV, New South Pro Wrestling. It was at the We Love Pro Wrestling show in February. Um, so yeah, I'm very proud of that match, and I'm hoping that it's a match that I could look back on 5, 10, 15 years from now when I'm retired, even, and think, man, like that was a great match. So
Wow, that's it. I was expecting not wrestling match submission or some, and then the big blow off, not first blood straight away. It's like,
Go for it.
oh yeah,
oh,
Why not?
why
Why
not?
not?
And just before we start to wrap up, Tyler, I just wanted to go back to Crossfire, just because obviously run by the Page sisters and obviously Tommy as well. Th those two, I mean, Kenzie, Kylie, incredible at such a young age to be running a promotion, to be on top of a division in the NWA, which me and Fee always stack up with any division in wrestling. Any women's division in wrestling, we stack the NWA women's division up against. How just like I mean, and we said this. I think we said this to Kylie. I think Fia, that how inspirational they are, and I think maybe
Yeah.
she got slightly not embarrassed, but thingy about the whole. But just how inspirational for wrestlers that are coming up now, should they look to the Kendys and Kylies and look at the advice that they do and how they're running it, and sort of thinking, well, we really need to do what they're doing.
yeah, no, I mean, especially younger people. They're two great people to look up to in this industry. Like they grew up in the business. Tommy has ran KFW for close to 20 years now, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe 20 this year. So they've grew up in the business, and Tommy, he's been, tremendous and put a lot of pressure on them early, and I think they did a tremendous job of handling it and always rising to the occasion, and the true professionalism that they carry themselves with at Crossfires. You wouldn't believe that, you know, they're as young as they are, the way that they carry themselves, act, and really push the brand, and have taken KFW from where it was. It was a great, indie promotion in East Tennessee and across the South, but rising it to becoming a territory for the NWA. And arguably, I know I'm a little biased because I work there, but arguably the top or one of the top territories in the system. And I feel like it's continuing to grow. And, obviously they carry themselves great in the ring, but, obviously are stars, and are continuing to grow. And, I've been in the ring with them both. And especially Kinsey, you would be surprised just how flawless, like, for me, I'm like, it's hard for me to keep up with her in the ring. So, they're tremendous. Yeah, definitely great role models for especially young women coming into the business and how to carry yourself and perform. They're, tremendous.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask one more, and then I'm going to let Fee. Obviously, I always do round it off. So, Fee, get your thinking cap on. I'm giving you a chance here to start thinking. But before Fee asks the last question, look, you did wrestle at Hard Times. Obviously, we don't want to give anything away in terms of results. That'll be on it in due course on NWA, on the Twitter page, and maybe even YouTube, like the 200th episode was. But look, you wrestled in that against some of the people that are, quite incredible. And I think some of these wrestlers, someone like Sam Stackhouse, for argument's sake, he's a big guy. And like, although he can move for a big guy and he does things that a 400-pound guy, I don't believe he's thing. And you also got in the ring with Gags, the Gimp,
Yep.
which is just a character in itself. But I wanted to talk about one guy quickly, Alex Misery. Now, for me and Fee, we've been watching Alex. Well, we've been watching Alex for a while, but last couple of times he's had matches on NWA, he has absolutely killed it. But the question I was going to ask you though is, look, anyone else on that roster, if you had a chance at 76 for argument's sake, and I think it is
Mm-hmm.
76, right? I am right. It is 76, not 77.
76? Or is it 77?
I think it is 77 actually, if I'm
77?
not mistaken. I believe
Yeah.
this coming up here.
Yeah.
I
This year
think
it's
this year will.
77.
I think this year will
77.
be 77.
So, rephrase. You can pick who you want, but if you was going to go in the ring with someone at 77, Tyler, who
Mhm.
would you want to go in there with?
And I will touch on this real quickly because I know you mentioned Alex Misery.
Mm.
He is a guy that I think I have tremendous chemistry in the ring with every time. Like I said, I'm not going to give away anything from that match, but I will say I've thought in that match, me and him, when we were in there together, it was smooth as butter. And um, I actually, my first ever match at NWA, it never aired, but I wrestled him in a dark match the day before I wrestled Tom. And I, thought it was a tremendous match for what it was. And I really enjoyed working him. But if I was to pick somebody that I haven't been in the ring with yet at NWA, I think a guy that I would really like to work with would be Spencer Slade.
Oh, we like
I
Spencer.
think I think he
Okay.
has a tremendous look. He can, he can move very well in the ring. I think he plays his role extremely well, and I think him having the mouthpiece of Orlando Perez with him is also a very interesting combination. But yeah, man, I think he's a guy that I would really like to test my limits with in the ring, and think we could put on a nice piece of business.
Oh, definitely so. I'd love to see that. Spencer Slade's another blue chipper in the NWA. There's full of blue
Yeah.
chippers in that division. But Fee, look, as I always do, I always give you as you're the NWA, as I mentioned to Tyler before. I don't watch. I didn't watch NWA until
My fault.
your
All
fault.
my fault.
All your fault. So I always give you that last question any one time that we ask an NWA superstar on the show. So go for it, Fee.
Yeah, this literally could be anything because it'll range from your favorite ice cream to pizza topping to a whole host of other things. I would normally actually generally kind of ask about titles and where you see yourself going and stuff, but obviously you've come right in at the top and you were right in against Tom. So I'm gonna go down a dream a dream tag team match. So pick anyone, whether they're alive or dead. Who would be your dream tag team partner and who would it be against?
Ooh.
Okay, I like this question. I like this question a lot. But, So I definitely, for my tag team partner, I would like, and it could be any wrestler, right? Any
Absolutely
company,
anyone,
any.
dead or
Okay,
alive. We're talking total hypothetical.
okay. Let me. I would like to team with Randy Orton
Ooh.
because
Okay.
I think he's. When I first started watching wrestling, I started watching in 2007 when I was
Mhm.
7 years old. First episode of Raw I can ever remember watching was the one where Randy Orton pulled Cena's dad over the barricade and punted him.
Yeah.
And I just remember running outside yelling at my dad, like, just kick Cena's dad. Like I couldn't believe it, And from then I was the biggest fan of his, and he's always been the guy that I've looked up to the most in this industry. So I would say teaming with him, and I don't want to take a low hanging fruit here, but I think I will. I think against the Hardys, man, they're just
Yes.
the Hardys are, timeless. I mean, even to
Yeah.
this day, still putting on great matches in the ring, and you wouldn't believe their age. They're smooth and timeless. And when you think of all time tag teams, it's hard to not have them on a Mount Rushmore list.
Yeah, definitely so. They are still very much kicking it. I thought you was going to say the slime balls for a minute. For a minute, for a team. But just before we go, now obviously the hitting the turnbuckle, we're very close to putting out 1,000 pieces of content onto YouTube, which is a feat in 3 years that it is pretty good. I haven't had
Congratulations.
a message, so I'm hoping that I can play this through the microphone so you can hear it. But I have been sent a message from someone in the NWA about this. Now, they do get confused with episodes and content, but it's the same thing. So let me see. Let me see if you can hear this.
Hey, this is Joe Kazana.
Oh, hold on.
I'm standing here with one half of the NWA United States Tag Team Champions, KC Kazana. You ask why we're here? We're here to congratulate Hitting the Turnbuckle on 1,000 episodes. KC, 1,000 episodes?
That's a lot of episodes.
My God, that's a lot of talking. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, we want to congratulate Hitting the Turnbuckle on 1,000 episodes. Guys, have another 1,000. Good luck. See you soon.
I hope you.
Oh, Joe, bless him.
Well, that was Joe and Casey Kazana. For those of you that hopefully that come through very, very well from
Yes.
from the Kazana Ranch, congratulating us on 1,000 pieces of content. But look, Hunter, it's been Tyler. I get Hunter Drake. I'm getting you all confused now. That's throwing me, that video. So that's my bad. Tyler, it's been great having you on the show. We can't wait to see what's next for you in the NWA. We're looking forward to seeing it. Episode 201 this week, Fee, that we'll be watching. But we wish you all the very best in the future. We can't wait to see you on NWA again very soon, and hopefully with some gold in your hand eventually.
Hey, that's the plan, you know. Yeah, thank you guys very much for having me, man. It was this was a lot of fun, and I hope you guys have me back on sometime in the future. I'd love to come and chat it up again. And yeah,
You
congratulations.
come back with some gold. Grab yourself some gold, and we'll get you back.
that sounds like a great idea.
I think so.
Especially since I just lost some gold this past weekend, I might as well reload. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. Congratulations, you guys, on 1,000 episodes, and hopefully you guys keep growing. And rising tides raise all ships. So
that's the plan. That is the plan. And thank you, Tyler. But Fee, we'll be back. I always ask at the end of an episode of NWA, shall we do this again next week?
Mm-hmm.
We will. We will for episode 201 of Power, which you can watch on the NWA official X account. Just go at NWA. Tyler's going to be on I'm sure will be very, very soon at Hard Times, which we will see. We look forward to that. But this has been another NWA Spotlight with the wonderful Miss Fiona Lochran, with Mr. Tyler Franks, and with me, Mr. Adam Cousins. And until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and good night.